Welcome back this morning. A closer look at President Trump's immigration crackdown and the lives upended by it. An NBC News exclusive report details the case of Andre Hernandez Romero, a gay makeup artist who was among the group of Venezuelans deported from the U.S. to CICOT, that notorious Salvadoran prison that was back in March when President Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act. After Romero's deportation, his lawyers fought to keep his asylum case open as a way to keep him in the U.S. legal system. But on Wednesday, a judge dismissed his case. I want to bring in NBC's David Noriega for more on his exclusive reporting. David, what else do people need to know about Andre's story, his case, and how it fits into the bigger picture?
Well, Ana, Andre Hernandez is just one of the better known of these cases of Venezuelan men who were deported to the Supermax prison in El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act. His story has resonated with a lot of people. He's a gay man who was a makeup artist for a state TV station in Caracas. He came to the U.S. He told his lawyers here in the U.S. that he had fled Venezuela because he was suffering persecution for both his sexual orientation and his opposition to the government of Nicolás Maduro in Venezuela. Now, those claims were the basis of his asylum case in the United States, which was in progress in an immigration court in the detention center where he was being held in San Diego, when that process was abruptly terminated when he was put on these planes on March 15th that were sent to El Salvador with no due process, no court hearings, no communication with his lawyers, and up to this day, extremely little information, virtually no information about who these people were or the legal underpinnings for the decision to remove them to El Salvador. Now, the fact that the judge terminated his asylum case is important for a few reasons. When we talk about due process in these cases, what we are talking about often are these pending immigration cases in U.S. immigration courts, often asylum claims like the one that Hernandez Romero had. Those were the processes that were cut short by Trump invoking the Alien Enemies Act. So the lawyers, not just in this case, but in similar cases across the country, we're trying very hard to keep those cases open as a way of basically preserving the vestiges of this due process that was stopped in its tracks. Initially, the immigration judges were sort of open to this. They were continuing the cases. They were keeping them open, even though the person in question was absent and could not be contacted. But recently, in just the last couple of weeks, judges have started agreeing with the government's motions to dismiss these cases. Now, the reason this is troubling to the families and the lawyers of these individuals is because it's essentially eliminating any trace, disappearing them from the American legal system. And this is, this, as it has always been, is a story about due process. It's important to remind people these people had pending immigration cases that were legally being assessed by a judge. That is the process that was cut short when the Alien Enemies Act was invoked.
I know you've been in contact with Andre's mom and best friend. What are you hearing from them? And have they had any contact with him?
They have not had any contact with him, and every time I talk about these cases, I stress that these men who were sent to this prison are in functionally a black hole. They are completely cut off from contact with the outside world, with counsel, with loved ones. The United States government is not even acknowledging in court that they are there or identifying who they are. The only reason we know they're there is because we've seen pictures, some of the pictures that were released by the Salvadoran government, or some other pictures taken by media in other cases. The family of Andre Hernandez Romero is very distressed by the fact that his asylum case was closed. They saw keeping this asylum case open as, in their words, a beacon of hope that he might eventually be released and brought to the United States. Ana.
David Noriega, thank you so much for your reporting. And joining us now is Andre's lawyer, Lindsay Toslowski, Executive Director of Immigrant Defenders Law Center. Lindsay, as David mentioned, the asylum case was dismissed for Andre. So what does that mean for him? Does the U.S. have any skin in the game at all to get him out of that prison in El Salvador?
Absolutely. So we are continuing to fight, and we want to stress that his case being dismissed, his asylum case being dismissed, is not the end of Andre's story. He is the lead plaintiff in JGG versus Trump, the ACLU lawsuit that is seeking the return of the men who are in CICOT, including Andre. We believe that they are in the constructive custody of the U.S. government still. There is an agreement between the U.S. government and El Salvador to hold Andre and the others, today being day 75 that they are there in that Supermax prison in El Salvador. So we will continue to fight in that court. We also intend to appeal this decision. We think the judge was wrong here. Andre's case should be able to continue. He is only not in the court in San Diego because the U.S. government moved him to El Salvador. They rendered him to El Salvador. He was seeking asylum. He was here. We were prepared to move forward, and we're still prepared to move forward. So we will not only fight within the asylum proceeding itself, appeal this decision to a higher court, but we will continue to fight for his return in federal court.
How frustrating is this for you as a lawyer, the system seemingly failing your client? You can't even contact him, right?
As I said, it's been 75 days. In my 15 years of practice, I have never had a situation like this where our client effectively disappeared overnight. We have been given absolutely no information. Every single government official that we have spoken to asking to get proof of life for our client has told us that they will not facilitate communication. In fact, the last proof of life we have are those horrific photos that were taken by a Time reporter of him being abused and slapped in the face as he arrived in El Salvador. We have had Congressman Robert Garcia go down to El Salvador and ask through the U.S. Embassy and to Salvadoran officials for proof of life for Andrei, and we still have received nothing. It's an absolutely absurd situation. It's a violation of due process, and really it should be a canary in the coal mine for everyone of what happens when the government ignores the rule of law.
I know you are also involved in the case of Eric Eduardo Fonesca Solorzano, a father from Honduras who was handcuffed and detained just moments after a judge issued a dismissal of his immigration case. The LA Times described how his wife trembled in panic. His son watched in wide-eyed disbelief as agents quickly shuffled him to a service elevator, and he was gone. The boy was silent, sticking close by his mother, tears welling. How commonplace are situations like this now as the Trump administration tries to ramp up its immigration crackdown?
So beginning May 20th here in the Los Angeles area, and lawyers have reported across the country, we began to see these courthouse arrests. I was in court when Mr. Solorzano was detained. I was in while the government moved to dismiss his case. He opposed on the record and told the judge that he wanted to remain in his asylum claim in proceedings with his wife and son, who were also there in the courtroom. And over his objections, the judge moved forward and dismissed his case. He was unrepresented at the time. As we exited the courtroom, I followed the family out and actually witnessed the ICE officers, 6 of them, in plain clothes, not wearing uniforms, come up to the father, detain him, handcuff him in front of his son as tears brimmed in his eyes. I then, went downstairs with the family, and I can tell you that to see that little boy, he was only 8 years old, in his school uniform, who came to court. It was their very first court date after entering the United States with an appointment, doing everything the government has asked them to do to seek asylum in the United States. To see his face, it was almost as if he had aged 2 years from the time we left the 8th floor and got to the bottom floor. He was completely traumatized. And all of this so that the government can separate his father's case, put him in expedited removal, because we continue to see the Trump administration finding fundamental fairness and due process in our immigration courts inconvenient to their plans for mass deportation. They believe that it doesn't move things fast enough. But due process is a bedrock of our justice system. And so we, took that case. We will continue to represent that family, continue to fight for them. But he was moved this weekend 1,100 miles away to Washington State. And so we are continuing to represent him, but it is incredibly challenging what's happening in our immigration courts.
Lindsay, something you said really caught my ear, and that is, this is an example of a case where migrants attempted to follow the so-called right way, to work within the system, did everything that they were essentially told to do, whether it's applying through that CBP One app previously to have their asylum case now into the system. I mean, are they suddenly now easier targets because they did it the right way?
That's exactly right. And that's why this is incredibly bad policy. It comes down to that fundamentally, because when you target people in immigration court, when you target the people who show up, the people who, came in, were paroled into the United States, go to their hearings, listen to the notices that they have, come in to avail themselves of the system, to seek asylum through that process. When you target them, what does that say to other people? It tells people that they should be afraid to come to court, that they need to go into the shadows. This is bad policy. It makes us less safe as communities if we are punishing the very people who follow the rules. And I sat in a courtroom yesterday and watched this happen to person after person who were surprised after they walked out of the courtroom to be accosted, sometimes by masked agents in the hallways, and taken into custody. These were people who came into court ready to move forward with their claims, who showed up when asked. It's incredibly counterintuitive to then target those people in enforcement actions like this.
Lindsay Toslowski, I can hear your passion. Thank you so much for joining us and shining light. Look forward to staying in touch.